The chamber was alive with illumination. Waves of golden radiance pulsed softly from the luminous walls, reflecting the fragile hope that had gathered here today. Kaelen stood at the center of the solar nexus council chamber, his eyes adjusting to the shifting light that danced like liquid fire around the assembly. Delegates from the renewed suns had arrived, their radiant forms flickering with the subtle nuances of their unique solar consciousnesses, each bearing the marks of ancient heritage and the scars of recent rebellion. Illyra, the ambassador of the solar nexus, moved gracefully beside him, her flowing robes shimmering with gentle pulses of light that seemed to breathe in harmony with the chamber itself. She caught Kaelen's gaze and offered a small, steadying smile. "This is the moment we've worked toward," she said softly, her voice like a warm breeze across a star-warmed desert. Kaelen nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle more firmly on his shoulders. Fragile as it is, this peace is our only path forward. The suns and their subjects cannot survive another war. Around them, the delegates gathered, their forms shifting between humanoid and radiant solar manifestations, light patterns flickering like ancient runes encoded in their very presence. Councillor Varkan, representing one of the largest sun factions, stepped forward. His broad shoulders cast elongated shadows across the chamber, his dark ceremonial uniform etched with glowing sun sigils. His voice was measured but firm, resonating with the authority of his position. "We acknowledge the efforts of our peers," Varkan began, "but old wounds do not heal quickly. The rebellion has left scars deeper than light can reach. Trust must be earned, not given lightly." A murmur rippled through the assembly, tension thickening the air like a gathering solar storm. Another faction leader, her form shimmering with a cooler, bluish light, countered sharply, "And what of the Creator's secrets? Shall we forever be slaves to their design, or do we dare to forge new paths with the knowledge Kaelen brings?" Kaelen stepped forward, raising his hands to calm the rising voices. "The message from Solara Prime is not just a warning. It is a call for unity and understanding." Drawing on the deep lexicon of solar code he had painstakingly decoded, Kaelen presented a passage, the complex light patterns and energy pulses resonating through the chamber like a symphony. The delegates fell silent, their consciousnesses attuned to the subtle harmonies embedded in the transmission. "This passage speaks of balance," Kaelen explained, "between autonomy and cooperation, between light and shadow. Our new alliance must honor the legacy of the suns, but also the freedom they fought for." Slowly, the heated debate eased, replaced by a cautious dialogue. Illyra moved among the delegates, her diplomatic grace weaving connections as fragile as the threads of light in the chamber. Myra Kaelen's trusted ally and strategist watched closely from the sidelines, her sharp eyes noting every hesitation and hope. Later, Kaelen and Myra shared a moment of quiet reflection overlooking the glowing horizon of a newly awakened sun. Its light was soft but steady, a beacon of the fragile new era dawning upon the galaxy. "Do you think this peace will last?" Myra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Kaelen stared into the sun's gentle blaze, sensing the pulse of ancient consciousness awakening anew. "It must, for the sake of all who live beneath these stars. But peace is a living thing. It requires constant care." The final ceremony took place as the sun's light bathed the assembly in a radiant glow. Delegates extended their hands, or their solar forms, in a symbolic sharing of energy beams of pure solar radiance intertwining above them, casting prismatic shadows that flickered like hopeful flames against the chamber's dark walls. In that moment, Kaelen felt the echoes of Solara Prime's message ripple through the gathered suns and their subjects. The rebellion's dying light had given way to a new dawn, uncertain, fragile, but undeniably real. As the beams of light slowly faded, Kaelen's thoughts turned to the future. The alliances formed today were but the first step. The galaxy's fractured heart would require healing, a task that would test every ounce of understanding, trust, and courage. And yet, beneath the luminous canopy of the solar nexus, the promise of radiance renewed burned brighter than ever. The chamber quieted, but the questions remained. Could this fragile peace withstand the shadows lurking in the depths of old grudges? Could the suns truly unite, or would the flickering tensions ignite into a new conflict? Kaelen knew the journey was far from over, but for now, the light held. The echoes of Solara Prime had not faded into silence. They had transformed, becoming a beacon for those willing to listen, to learn, and to rebuild. And Kaelen was ready to carry that light forward, no matter the cost. The radiance renewed marked not an end, but a beginning. The galaxy watched, breath held, as the fragile threads of alliance wove their way through the fractured starscape. A new chapter was unfolding, one where understanding might finally mend the wounds of ancient wars and guide the fractured galaxy toward a brighter, shared future. The observation deck of the Lumina was awash in the gentle hum of the ship's systems, a soft ambient glow bathing Kaelen's thoughtful face. Beyond the reinforced glass, the vast tapestry of stars stretched endlessly, each point of light a sun, a beacon of possibility. Tonight, those stars were not just distant fires. They were awakening minds, ripples of consciousness spreading through the galaxy like waves on a cosmic ocean. Kaelen's eyes traced the patterns, faint pulses of light that flickered and grew, signaling the spread of the solar consciousness they had worked so tirelessly to understand. "Look there," Cerise murmured beside Kaelen, their voice like a warm breeze. The solar envoy's presence was a comforting radiance in the cold vastness of space. With a fluid motion, Cerise raised their hands, palms glowing with a golden luminescence that shimmered and danced like sunlight on water. These waves of light are more than signals. They are the language of renewal. The suns are singing anew. Around them, the crew of the Lumina watched in silent awe, captivated by the ritualistic display. Cerise's fingers wove intricate patterns, each movement channeling bursts of radiant energy that rippled outward, casting waves of golden light that seemed to pulse with life itself. The air vibrated softly with a resonance that touched the heart, an ancient song of hope and unity echoing across the void. Kaelen felt a swell of emotion, a mixture of reverence and anticipation. The rebellion that had once torn the galaxy apart was giving way to something greater, a new order forged not through conflict but through connection. The solar consciousness was no longer a distant phenomenon. It was a growing force that sought to bind the fractured realms together. Yet, the transformation was not without its challenges. On a nearby planetary system, Ratho stood amidst a command center, abuzz with activity. His broad shoulders bore the weight of responsibility as bursts of solar energy from newly awakened suns disrupted established communication networks. Screens flickered and alarms chimed, demanding swift adaptation. "We've never faced anything like this," Ratho admitted, his voice steady despite the tension. "These pulses are powerful, but unpredictable. We need to find a way to work with them, not against them." His team responded with a blend of urgency and cautious optimism, recalibrating systems to accommodate the shifting energies. The planetary defense forces, once wary of the sun's rebellion, now found themselves collaborating with those very forces to maintain stability. It was a delicate dance, balancing old fears with new possibilities. Back aboard the Lumina, Kaelen met with Nima, their young protege, whose eyes brimmed with wonder at the unfolding events. Together, they watched the twin suns rise over the horizon of a remote world, a breathtaking sight where two golden orbs bathed the landscape in a warm, ethereal glow. "Do you think the galaxy will ever be the same?" Nima asked softly, her voice tinged with hope and uncertainty. Kaelen smiled, feeling the weight of the journey that had brought them here. "No, it won't be the same, but that's not a bad thing. The light that's spreading now carries the promise of renewal, of connection. We have the chance to build something lasting, if we are wise enough to nurture it." As the twin suns climbed higher, their light intertwined, casting long shadows that slowly receded. The dying light of rebellion was giving way to the dawn of a new era, one where the echoes of Solara's message resonated through every star, every life, every heartbeat in the galaxy. But even in this moment of fragile peace, Kaelen knew the road ahead was uncertain. The waves of light were spreading, but how would the galaxy maintain balance amidst such profound change? The answers lay in the choices they would make, the alliances they would forge, and the understanding they would seek. For now, the Song of the Suns played on, a melody of hope and transformation that promised a future shaped by the very light that once threatened to fade into darkness. Kaelen closed their eyes briefly, letting the warmth of the twin suns wash over them. The journey was far from over, in fact. It was only just beginning. And as the waves of light continued to ripple outward, the galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what new dawn would rise from the echoes of Solara. The corridor before them was a tunnel of soft light and silence, the air thick with the hum of ancient power. Kaelen stepped cautiously forward, the soles of their boots barely making a sound on the smooth crystalline floor. Beside them, Illyra moved with a grace that seemed almost untethered, her silver hair catching the faint glow from the walls, casting shimmering patterns like solar flares in motion. "This place," Illyra whispered, "is where the creators left their final message." Kaelen nodded without speaking, their eyes scanning the vast chamber opening ahead. The ancient solar vault was a cathedral of light, its vaulted ceilings arcing high above, punctuated by floating holographic glyphs that orbitated in slow, deliberate orbits. Each symbol pulsed with quiet energy, a language more felt than seen. The custodian emerged from the shadows, a luminous figure woven from star maps and strands of radiant light. Its voice, resonant and imbued with calm authority, filled the chamber. "You seek the forgotten promise, the covenant that shaped the fates of suns and creators alike." Kaelen stepped forward. "We must understand it fully. The rebellion challenges the order we have known. But if this promise still binds us, the stakes are far greater than we imagined." A radiant projection unfolded in the air between them, depicting a council of ancient beings, creators, whose forms shimmered with ethereal brilliance. Their voices overlapped in the projection, solemn and firm. "We vow," the projected voices intoned collectively, "to relinquish our dominion, to never again interfere in the natural course of solar evolution. The suns shall govern themselves, with balance restored through freedom, not control." Illyra's gaze flickered with reverence and doubt. "But the rebellion, it threatens to undo this balance." Kaelen's mind raced as images of the fractured galaxy flashed before their eyes, sun systems torn by conflict, alliances shattered, and the fragile hope for peace slipping like sand through their fingers. Their contemplations were interrupted by the arrival of Counselor Varric, his footsteps echoing with authority. The chamber's ambient light seemed to harden around him, his stern face shadowed beneath a brow furrowed with urgency. "Kaelen," he said sharply, "you tread on dangerous ground. Ignoring the forgotten promise risks plunging the galaxy into an abyss of chaos." The sun's rebellion must be contained, or all will be lost. Kaelen met his gaze steadily. And what of freedom, counselor? Does the promise bind only the creators, or also those they once ruled? Varek's eyes narrowed. The promise is law. Upholding it preserves order. Breaking it invites ruin. The debate echoed in Kaelen's mind long after Varek's departure. They sought solitude atop a cliff overlooking the endless expanse of stars, their light flickering like distant embers. The cold wind tugged at their cloak, a reminder of the fragility of the moment. Here, beneath the dying light of ancient suns, Kaelen felt the weight of choice settle deep within their bones. To honor the forgotten promise was to maintain cosmic order, but at the cost of the sun's autonomy. To break it was to embrace uncertainty, risking the collapse of everything known. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for Kaelen's decision. A new dawn was on the horizon, but whether it would bring light or shadow remained unwritten. Kaelen inhaled the crisp air, their resolve hardening like the crystalline ground beneath them. "I will find a way," they whispered to the stars, "to honor the past and forge a future worthy of the sun's light." As the first rays of a distant star pierced the darkness, the echoes of the forgotten promise stirred anew, their resonance promising a reckoning and a hope beyond the horizon. The solar nexus hummed with a vibrant energy that felt almost sentient. Kaelen stood at the heart of this immense structure, surrounded by the luminous conduits that linked the suns across the fractured galaxy. The final message from Solara Prime had been decoded, its layers of solar code revealing not only the history of the rebellion, but a path toward unity that no one had dared to imagine. "Are you certain this will work?" Mira Voss's voice was calm, but carried an edge of urgency as she approached Kaelen. Her eyes, reflecting the radiant light of the Nexus, bore into him with the weight of countless hopes and fears. Kaelen nodded, though the magnitude of his task pressed heavily on his chest. The final pulse will harmonize the solar consciousnesses. It's a resonance designed to bridge the fractures, not just between suns, but across all sentient beings connected to them. General Tharic's scarred visage loomed behind Myra, his arms crossed, skepticism etched into every line of his face. "If this pulse fails," he said bluntly, "it could shatter what little order remains. Or it could forge a new order," Kaelen replied, steadying his voice. "We have to try." The chamber fell silent as the linguist activated the sequence. The Nexus lights flickered, then began pulsing in a slow, rhythmic cadence. Outside, the suns themselves responded, their fiery surfaces shimmering with synchronized patterns that rippled through space like waves on a cosmic ocean. Kaelen's breath caught as he watched the energy surge outward. The pulse was a living symphony of light and power, weaving through star systems, bathing planets in hues of gold, azure, and violet. The energy was not destructive, but transformative, an invitation to understanding and peace. Across the galaxy, suns once locked in defiant rebellion faltered in their fury, their consciousnesses drawn into the pulse's harmonizing embrace. The ancient war, born of fear and misunderstanding, began to dissolve into a collective awakening. Back in the council chamber, Mira and Theric exchanged a glance that spoke volumes. The battle-hardened general's stance softened just enough to hint at a willingness to explore this new reality. The fragility of peace was clear, but so was the necessity. Kaelen retreated to a quiet observation chamber, the last ember of a dying star casting a gentle glow over his features. He let the weight of the moment wash over him, the culmination of years spent deciphering cryptic messages, navigating treacherous politics, and confronting personal demons. The galaxy was changing. The sun's final pulse was a beacon, heralding not just an end, but a beginning. a future where light and consciousness were intertwined in ways no one had yet fully understood. Yet, amidst the hopeful glow, Kaelen knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. The deep divisions carved by centuries of conflict would not vanish overnight. It would take vigilance, compassion, and unwavering resolve to nurture this newfound harmony. As he gazed out into the vastness, the echoes of Solara Prime's dying message resonated within him, a timeless call to rise above the shadows of the past and embrace the dawn of a united cosmos. And with that thought, Kaelen stepped forward into the light, ready to help shape the galaxy's unfolding destiny. Kaelen sat alone in the quiet sanctum of his study, the soft hum of the ship's life support systems a familiar background to his thoughts. The room was lined with shelves crammed with ancient tomes and digital star maps, relics of a time when knowledge was scattered and fragmented among the far-flung colonies of the fractured galaxy. His fingers hovered over the console, half listening to the distant static of intercepted transmissions, when the summons arrived, a sudden shimmering hologram bursting to life before him. The image was that of Counselor Veric, an elder of the Galactic Council, his figure glowing faintly against the swirling patterns of the chamber's backdrop. Kaelen Veric's voice was calm but carried an unmistakable weight. The galaxy is shifting. Solara Prime, the rogue sun at the edge of our mapped space, is dying. It emits a message, one that defies our understanding. You are the only one skilled enough to decode it. Kaelen blinked, heart quickening. The Galactic Council rarely intervened directly, let alone summoned a single linguist for a matter of cosmic importance. His mind raced. What secrets could a dying sun hold? The thought of Solara Prime flickering into oblivion, its light dimming to darkness, sent a chill through him. The journey to the council chambers was swift, the corridors alive with murmurs of concern and curiosity. The chamber itself was awe-inspiring, a vast circular hall suspended mid-orbit above a barren moon. Floating orbs of light represented the ruling suns, each pulsing softly, as if breathing. The assembled members watched Kaelen with a mixture of expectation and skepticism. The message, Veric continued, is encoded in the solar emissions pulses of light and energy, unlike any we have encountered. It speaks of rebellion, ancient wars, and a warning that could unravel the fragile peace of our galaxy. Kaelen's fingers tingled with anticipation as he was granted access to the transmission data. The first glimpse of the solar code was mesmerizing. Waves of light that shimmered and flickered unpredictably, patterns emerging and dissolving like cosmic poetry. He felt as though the sun itself was alive, its consciousness reaching out through the void. As hours turned into days, Kaelen worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of the message. Each decoded segment revealed glimpses of a forgotten past, of suns that had risen to sentience and defied their creators. The implications were staggering. The galaxy's fragile order rested on secrets kept for millennia. Outside his ship's viewport, the fractured galaxy stretched endlessly, stars flickering like distant beacons of hope and despair. Solara Prime's fiery pulse dimmed, a dying light that cast long shadows across the cosmos. Kaelen knew that time was running out. The message was a call to action, a plea from a sun on the brink of collapse. With a deep breath, Kaelen prepared to journey deeper into the mystery, unaware that his own past was intricately tied to the solar rebellion unfolding before him. The flickering dawn of a new era had begun, and the echoes of Solara Prime would resonate across the stars, forever changing the fate of the fractured galaxy. As he stared into the dying light, Kaelen felt the weight of destiny settle upon his shoulders. The galaxy awaited his translation. a bridge between light and shadow, past and future. The first chapter of a cosmic saga was written in the flickering dawn.